The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Everybody, WFO Radio back on the air. I'm Joe Castello, and we have got the 69th Dodge Power Brokers U.S. Nationals results show. We're going to break it all down. So much went down. The Don the Snake Prudhomme Hot Wheels tribute car. 1 week ago, we were talking about it as a concept. We had Caps on the show. He broke it all down, how it all worked out. And now, a week later, he is a U.S. Nationals winner, back-to-back winner with the Snake in the winner's circle. What an amazing story / stories. We're going to get into all of that, like everybody talking about the Snake, and really kind of took over the event in many ways. Great job by Ron Capps. Ron Capps going to be joining us on WFO Radio for an exclusive interview on Friday at 12 noon this week. So be sure to subscribe and lock yourself in. Antron Brown gets the job done back-to-back. Back-to-back was kind of the flavor of the year for the most part. 3 of the 4 Camping World Series categories. Antron Brown wins Indy back-to-back, wins back-to-back races. They both did. That's why they were both on WFO Radio Thursday, 12 noon. Antron Brown. For those of you listening in the future, that's Thursday, the day after this show. So check it out. Be sure. Don't miss it. We're going to talk with AB about all that went down. Hartford's going to join Antron Brown, working on getting Matt Smith to join Ron Capps, and we'll get all the Indy winners out of the way this week so we can focus on the NHRA countdown and the House of Chaos in a couple of days. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joining us. Matt Smith also goes back-to-back, by the way. And the Hartford story, we're going to get into it. Matt Hartford finally breaks through multiple race wins in a season by winning the biggest race of them all, the U.S. Nationals. Matt Hartford, and boy, that hidden horsepower we did leading into it was sure poignant. Now, before we get to Alan Reinhart, I want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO and chase down drag racers and set up these shows. And the WFO mobile app and podcast feeds are all loaded and full of content for a couple of reasons. One, because you guys share the show out there and help us defeat the algorithms out there on the social media that's trying to keep us down. Yeah. But also because we've got some great sponsors like FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, Florida Transmission Incorporated, Power Glides for .90 cars and bracket cars, something bigger and more powerful, can certainly handle more power for Pro Modified, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. Go to FTIperformance.com to find out more information. And they do shift kits for Turbo 350s on the street also. They do it all, and they have the scale. But one thing that they specialize in is huge power. Reliability for huge power. FTIperformance.com. Folks at Foggett talking about Gary Stinnett's company. Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams, just checking out the logos on all those race cars. Checking out the logos. A couple of the Pro Stock cars now have it. Everyone is using Foggett. Why? Because they know it is specialized protection for the inside of your engine. You just heard the Total Seal spot. All the effort and technology that goes into surface finish on the inside of your cylinder walls, and then you're going to not do anything to protect it. You're just going to assume that it's going to be fine. I don't think so. That's why you need Foggit, F-O-G-G-I-T. They've got a great contingency program in the Lucas Oil series. Go to the website, get yourself a case, and you'll never look back. People that are firearm users and gunsmiths and people working in machine shops are also finding that it's a great multi-purpose spray, but its primary function is to protect the inside of your cylinder walls. The folks at Phillips Connect, Phillips-Connect.com, talking about Mr. Epler's smart trailer technology that is expanding throughout the country. And if you have got a fleet of trucks and trailers, you know that anytime they're not on the road, you're losing money. It's as simple as that. And you also know as a smart business person that you got to spend money to make money. And so outfitting your fleet with smart trailer technology that's going to let you know how to avoid critical problems that's going to slow you down is worth it. It's worth it, not just for your bottom line, but for the efficiency of your vehicles and the safety of folks on the road. Wheel bearing is heating up. You've lost brake pressure. What are you going to do? How do you know? You either find out in the next incident, the time you got to stop, or your smart trailer technology brought to you by Phillips Connect lets you know in advance. And you call your driver and you'd be like, hey, man, you got a problem. Pull over, get it fixed. That's what it's all about. And they do a great job. If you'd like a personalized introduction, I can put you through. Joe at WFOradio.com. Email me, and we'll connect you to the folks at Phillips Connect. Bernie Speed Shop, 100,000 square feet, car culture. They've got exotics. They've got classics. They do frame-off restorations, a paint and body shop, an engine shop. They do it all at Bernie's. They're also a dealer for e-bikes and various other things that are able to be housed under their 100,000 square feet. What I tell you to do is just go to their social media, go to bernies.com. Simple as that. That's my job. Go to social media, go to bernies.com, and check out all the different stuff they have. I like to check out their inventory. And the next time you're selling a car, let them sell it on consignment for you, because they got people coming in and out of them. They've done movie props. They've done a lot. And obviously, my thoughts going out to Josh and Brittany, who it depends if you're an animal person, right? If you love pets, you understand losing a member of the family for 15 years is just devastating right before the U.S. Nationals. Just terrible. They had to go through that, but they'll be back. They'll be back. Go to bernies.com. Follow along on social media. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about samtech.edu. We'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school. Of course, Marvin Rodak is shipping out the best coffee, hot sauce, and spice rub in the world. And our great friends from down under at Torque Calibration Services of Australia, who wanted in on the Indy coverage, they're getting it. But right now, let's go out to another drag strip. That's right, the voice of the NHRA. Looking at that number, let's jazz those numbers, guys. We got Alan Reinhart on the scene. We got race cars on the track. Alan Reinhart, look at that. I've never seen this, Alan. Let me see. Let me continue to see. That's a great view. Where are you, Alan Reinhart?
I was going to see if anybody could guess.
Where is Alan Reinhart? Where are you, Alan Reinhart?
National Trail Raceway, just outside of Columbus, Ohio.
That is a big tower. That is very nice.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really nice racetrack. It's been here for a number of years. We used to run a national event here. When NHRA got the opportunity to go to Norwalk, they transplanted the national event from here to Norwalk, basically. But, with some of the stuff that's been going on these days, some of the tracks that we've been losing, the conversation has started again. Is it possible to have races this close together, and does it make sense? Because we're, not very far from Norwalk here. We're not very far from Indy here. But could it? And I don't know. I mean, that the guys that decide that are in offices a few floors above where I sit, if you know what I'm saying. But it's a great facility. It's a great racetrack, and it's going to be a fun weekend. We're here for the Jake's Summer Fling, one of the Pete Biondo series of fling races, and he's got about 400 or 500 bracket racers here running for big buckets of cash. It's going to be fun.
Super exciting, and I know they've got that all-star format that they're by invitation only going to do on our Ignition audio-only podcast. Troy, who does the Big Money Bracket Minute, and he's been so jazzed about it. He was yelling at me that I did not go there to take in the race and to cover the race, and I told him I was totally physically, mentally exhausted. But that's why we got you there. Talk a little bit about this bracket race. It's going to be massive.
Well, I figure I'm, physically about to die anyway, and mentally not very much there, so I don't have a whole lot to lose by coming out here and spending some more time. No, I just love this stuff. I really, really enjoy the opportunity to come do this. This is actually Nate Hershey's gig. He's the guy that does these things. But
Nate is not there. My buddy Nate. Let's see, what do we got?
You don't have to whisper.
Yeah.
Hang on. Mrs. Coughlin came in to say hi.
Hey.
Who's there?
Joe Castello.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Sam, how's it going?
Pop over to whatever when you get a chance.
Okay, thank you. So anyhow, Nate had something come up and couldn't make it. Pete called me last week, and he said, man, I really know it's last minute, but I'm in a bind. Can you help me out? And since it's only about a 2.5 hour drive from Indy, I said, you know what, I can do this. I'll make it work. So I did the first fling, and just schedule alignment and other stuff, we haven't been able to get together. But the first one was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to come back and fill in for Nate. But this is all his gig. I'm just keeping his chair warm until he gets back.
Well, Nate Hershey is one of the greats, a great friend from my early years at the NHRA, and he certainly could be out there with us if he wasn't like in charge of Las Vegas. We don't tell everybody Nate's private stuff, but the guy's got like a real legit high level job, and drag racing is his outlet for fun. Whereas I'm struggling to survive out here, so I appreciate it. And if you guys can't hear tough stuff, I'm loving the sound of cars in the background. I like it, so deal with it. Woo!
Hey, before we get into the Indy stuff, I need an unbiased opinion, so I'm going to rely on you, okay?
Okay.
Pete yesterday challenged me to a little practice tree duel.
Okay.
We had a little friendly side bet on it. It was a race to 5. Okay?
Yep.
He won 5-4.
Okay.
But one of the head-to-heads, right? 001 to 001, he got the win light.
Yep.
And I went, how does that work? And he said, it's because it's a Biondo practice tree. I win all the ties. I feel like I was cheated.
Okay, so right back here, I have a Biondo final round practice tree, and anytime a Biondo is on a Biondo practice tree and there's a tie, I think it's questionable, Alan. I think you've got a very legitimate beef.
What I'm saying.
There should be a sudden death final run on a different brand of practice tree.
I would think so, and I told him, I said, next time we do this, I've got a porta tree at home. We're doing it on mine. We're not doing it on yours. We're doing it on mine. But, I filed a protest, and since he is the race director and the promoter, he, heard my protest and then promptly declined it. So I really feel like,
the suspicion of corruption, like the whole point of all of that stuff is to assuage even the thought that maybe there would be.
I do have to tell you though, it was pretty funny because we talked about this and he said, tell you what, he goes, just to make it fair, he said, I'll give you a 2-0 head start. And I said, no. I said, if I win, I said, when I win. I said, when I win, I want to win fair and square. I don't want to win, And he said, have at it. And let me tell you, when I was up on him 2-0, he started sweating a little bit. When I was up on him 4-3, he's like, okay. But we had some fun doing it. We actually filmed it. It'll be on somewhere on the Fling social media. At Bracket Races is their Twitter stuff. I don't know when it'll go out, but I'll blast it out too. But anyway, I just feel like 5-4, and one of them I lost was 001 001. I feel like I legitimately got.
Okay, so for people who don't know that, there are people who don't know this, that Pete he keeps saying is the Peter Biondo, the Terminator, one of the greatest racers of all racers, who has just, gone on to do other things, although I hear he is coming back, and that is going to be pretty amazing. For Alan Reinhart to take Peter Biondo to the final run in a first to 5 practice tree battle, that's a great story, Alan. That's worth it. It'd been better if you beat him, but hey.
It would have been better if I beat him.
That's right.
It would have
no,
been. But
those Biondo trees, they're biometrically programmed to sense Biondo.
I think it reads his thumbprint. That's what I honestly believe. I think it reads his thumbprint. But
well, we can't prove that it doesn't. And so until that happens.
That's my stance right there. That's my stance.
Yeah, no, I think we're on you. Okay, so JP Gutierrez checking in. They had a great Indy. Fast.
I think he made his 3 or 4 quickest career best runs ever. I know he reset his career best a couple of times while he was there, but yeah, that thing was flying. He was the last hope for the Supercharged gang when we got into the later rounds of Dragster, but he certainly, man, that was a strong showing. Looked good out there, man.
Yeah, but since we have so much information to cover, let's just, start at the top, which what I think is the story of the weekend. Just the resurgence and the return of Don the Snake Prudhomme to NHRA drag racing, the winner's circle. We talked with Caps last week on the show, and it all came to fruition. Like, what are the odds of that happening? Snake agreeing, Hot Wheels agreeing, they get it done, it's on the car. In 50,000 alternate universes, they lose first or second round, right? But no. Right. In this real actual universe, they go on and win the race. Wow.
You know, I told Ron, I actually told Snake, he and I sat in the golf cart while they were taking pictures in the winner's circle and kind of reminisced about some of this stuff. And I said, you realize you couldn't sell this as a movie because nobody would ever believe it. And he's, oh yeah. And he even called me this morning and said, hey man, I just wanted to touch base and say, thanks for all the great coverage and all the stuff out there. And it was cool catching up and doing all the things and just, what unbelievable, right? One and done. At this point, as cool as that car was, I hope they don't decide to bring it back, right? Because I can see them going, well, if we run it in Dallas or if we run it, but I really hope they just kind of do the old drop the mic thing and walk away, because it really was a special moment. And I told Don, I said, 50 years ago you did this, and obviously he had no idea 50 years later what might happen, right? But I guarantee you this, 50 years from now, people are going to go, do you remember when? And that's one of those magical Indy moments that will live on forever. And, as annoyed as J.R. Todd is that he lost the race, even he has to be going, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, JR and Caps are great friends, and Snake and JR, like Snake respects JR as a driver from 10 years ago, right prior to the championship. Snake called it, said that JR was like the new him, and so JR's chances really kind of got diminished with that weird brake line incident at the top end. That put him so far behind. They will probably say it didn't factor in, but I have a tough time believing that it didn't factor in. They lost a lot of time. They lost a lot of prep. They were worried about other things than beating Ron Capps.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. And I really don't think that Todd Smith or Jono would ever use that for an excuse. They had the backup car on the ground before they got back. So if they had pulled in, it would have taken them 3 minutes to go, no, throw this one out of the way, let's race the backup. I don't believe that really factored in. And like I said, I don't believe that Jono or Todd would use that for an excuse. They had all three teams over there. So while somebody from the dragster side is fixing the brakes, those guys went through their normal routine, did their stuff. But I think that JR certainly had a very good day. Ron Capps had a great day. I have always felt, and I know, and you've raced enough, and anybody that's done it, when you get to the final round, you want to close the deal. You just, I didn't come this far to stop now. But at the end of the day, when you take a breath and you look back and you think, there's 14 people that would love to trade places with me right now, and only one that wouldn't. That's still a good day at the office. And as much as I know you want to win Indy, being runner-up is better than not being runner-up unless you're the one who wins.
And they're a championship player, and they gained a lot of ground after the points reset, thanks to 1.5 points. And so a successful day for J.R. Todd. But you're racing against the racing gods at that time. And Cap said it, like, you look over and you're like, really? Like, the cosmos might be against me on this one. And like you said, not that they're, like, happy about it, but I don't think they're unhappy that Snake got to experience that.
Yeah, you've got to be happy for Snake. And again, you want to win the race badly, but look big picture, right? They made a move before the reset, which helps, right? I mean, every position helps. And with the 1.5 points and going to the final, they made a move there. That helps. The amount of exposure that DHL is going to get, because that single run has been shown so many times, not just on social media, even though it was all over social media and will be for a while, but around the world, there was, hey, look what really happened in Indy today. And the DHL car is there. It's part of the picture. It's part of, and for a worldwide company like DHL, that's a bonus. It really is. So, everything about it except the fact that they didn't win the race, there's a lot of positive you can take out of that. And if I'm them, I'm looking at this as, this is momentum. Now we're going into the championship chase. Let's just make sure we got everything lined up and ready to go for Reading in a couple of weeks, because once we get started, it's going to be go time again. Yeah,
and, again, tip of the cap to JR for not hitting anything down there. You turn the corner, you expect to have brakes, you don't have brakes. There's people all over the place there. It's a wild area. That's why it's extreme restricted access. Not anyone can just go down there. There's balloons, there's cars, there's fuelers, there's reporters. Amanda, Jason Galvin running around, camera people, marketing people, not ever expecting a car's going to come in with no brakes. So whatever JR did to prevent that from happening, good job. JP wants everybody to know he's doing it with a clutch also. There was a little misinformation earlier this year about that thing. They got the starting line rev limiter, but with a clutch, and great work. Funny car-wise, I also we had 3 races. We had the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty. We had the Pep Boys All-Star Call-Out, and we had the U.S. Nationals. And I just think the way it all shaped up with John Force beating the Snake car in the final round, like Force kind of getting a lick in, you know, like, hey, it's like, hey man, I'm John Force. I was here. I was part of the weekend. I beat that car. Robert Hight calling out Ron Capps in the Snake car. Got a lick in on it. Like they both became part of the weekend experience and the storylines for 50 years from now by having their great successes.
They did. And, you know, I love Robert Hight's attitude in the call-out race. I think he really gets it. And there's some that don't, but he really gets it. You know, who's the funny car that's leading the points right now? Ron Capps. Who's the guy that won? Ron Capps. Who's the guy that's coming in hot? Ron Capps. Who do you want to? I want to race him. I want to take care of business. I want to get him the heck out of here. I want to do that first. I love that mentality about Robert and the team, and the fact that, you know, once you make the call out, you better be sure you make it stick. Otherwise, you're going to be hearing about it for a while, and they did. So I really like that, and the fact, again, that he gets it. And, you know, then John getting a chance to go side by side with them, even that's cool. But Snake and I sitting in the golf cart in the winner's circle while they're going through, you know, because I don't know how much of the stuff you were there for, but when you win an event like that, you know, you do all of your normal stuff, right? You do your team stuff, you do your sponsor stuff, and then because it's Indy, right? The shop is in Indy. The crew guys are all in Indy. The families are all there. This stuff, they don't get to do this very often. So it's, hey, Joe and his wife want to take a picture.
Right.
And so you go through, it is a long, drawn-out experience because if you've got all the family and stuff, and especially doing that car, nobody's going to not do that, right? So Snake and I are sitting in a golf cart, and we're just kind of sitting there kind of chit-chatting, and he says, I said something about, you know, I said, you know, the run with Force was, I said, I would have liked to seen that again, just because, right? He got the first one, if you came back and got the second one. And Don, who is still the coolest guy, I think, in the universe, he's got a cigar in one hand, he's got a little glass of wine in the other hand, he takes a puff on his cigar, and he says, you know something, Reinhart? He says, a week from now, ain't nobody going to remember who won the shootout, but they damn sure remember who won the Nationals.
Fact.
Anyway.
Fact.
Yeah. You got the one, right? You got the one that really, really counts. So, anyway, everything about it was, you know, storybook ridiculous that nobody would ever believe, except it happened.
Yeah. Well, we, you know, Brian is a very talented guy and he's a great friend, and they do that open to the show, and they're all good, but this one was next level.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was exactly what you're talking about, because this moment is definitely added to the timelines of television show open worthiness, right? Like he had, there you go, look at that.
Just sitting there watching the world go by.
No, like we were all like trying to steal little bits of the man's soul over the course of the weekend. It was incredible. Here's mine. Steve Grunwald, the photographer from West Palm Beach, took these in the winter's, like as the car went down the track. I went to shake Snake's hand, and he pulled me in for a hug, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got a hug from Don the Snake Prudhomme. Daryl Quinn saw it, you know, like, it doesn't make sense as a kid who grew up rooting for that man. Like my other friends, we talked about it on Ignition last night. They had action figures, Alan, you know, like an action figure. And I never understood, like, why would you want an action figure of a person that's not even real when you could be talking about these people that are real, like the Snake and the Mongoose and Garlitz and like all these amazing people that we get to honor, deify, glorify.
G.I. Joe was pretty real.
That is the avatar for all members of the military. But you have to understand, in my particular household, I had the real thing. My dad is a Marine Corps drill instructor. You know, I'm not going to walk around with a doll. I got my dad. Like, if I want to know something about the military, I go to my dad. If I want to ask a military story, it's my dad. I'm not playing around with action figures. I go to my dad. He tells me a story about Paris Island and doing stuff. So to have Snake all these years later there and kind of like edge off, having a good time, and able to see him, like Caps did something for all of us, for the whole sport, by delivering this win. It was amazing. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Points reset. Like we could go, everybody's Indy, but we got a limited time. Alan's got to go to work. Caps is the points leader by 24 over Hagen, by 38 over Height, by 48 over Tasca, by 56 over JR, by 67 over Alexis. Chad Green, 78 back, 94 back Tim Wilkerson, 99 back John Forrest, Cruz Pedregon, 114 back Alex Laughlin is 124 back, and that reflects the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge points and the reset. That's why it's all kind of scrambled and a little weird and not consistent, but that reflects the successes that they had in the Mission Foods race.
Right, and we're going to see, how big of dividends those play going down the road. When you get into the top fuel points, Justin Ashley's like, whoop, because he's got a full round plus of those Too Fast, Too Tasty points, and that could be huge going through the next 6 races. I mean, you don't know until the end of the game, but Ron Capps won the championship last year by 3 points. If Justin Ashley wins a championship this year by 3 or 5 or 12 or 15, it's because of the mission points. It's simply because of the mission points. Robert Height won a championship a number of years ago because of qualifying points. Simply because he was always qualifying 1-2 week after week after week after week. Ron Capps was qualifying mid-pack week after week after week. And when it came down to the end of the season, Ron actually won one more round than did Robert. But Robert had gained so many qualifying points, he still won the championship. So those little points, we won't know for sure until we get there, but those little points could make a big, big difference.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Let's move over to Top Fuel, where Steve Torrence was the number 1 qualifier. Qualifying in general was challenging. It was hot, and more importantly than being hot, it was humid and gross and difficult, but they were able to get a hold of it on Friday night. Was it Friday night or was it Saturday night? Bottom line is they took over the number 1 spot. I went by their pit on Sunday night, and there's 2 Capco dragsters sitting side by side. 2 Capco dragsters sitting side by side, and I knew they were doing a chassis swap. And I thought, oh my gosh, these guys are going to start the biggest race of the year with a backup car. I wasn't exactly sure at the time had it been down the racetrack. Steve told us in the pre-race it hadn't, and he hadn't driven the car. And they go to the final round, right? Meanwhile, they go up against Antron. Antron takes down Justin. Justin was looking good, but it could go either way. Antron versus Steve. Antron goes on to win, goes back-to-back in U.S. Nationals, back-to-back in races on the tour. And it makes me feel like we've got multiple players, like anybody could win this championship right now.
Yeah, it definitely looks wide open. The back-to-back Nitro champions at Indy has never happened before. There have been a couple of times when the Top Fuel guys won it back-to-back. Schumacher won 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 or something at one point. And there have been a couple of funny car drivers that have gone back-to-back, but never has there been a both back-to-back. Antron and Ron both won the U.S. Nationals last year, both won it this year. So that's the first time that's happened, to double up in the Nitro classes. And I don't know, I really wasn't that concerned about the Capco car. And I thought somebody had said it, I thought Bobby had said it had never been, or somebody said, yeah, it had, and somebody said, but whatever.
Right.
Those guys are good enough that I wasn't really concerned with it, and especially once first round was out of the way, it's business as usual at that point. Just get in and go. But if you find something that's potentially an issue, or if you find something and you think to yourself, this might be okay, or we might decide, we might get to the semifinals and go, okay, yeah, we got to really, the problem's getting bigger now. Get it done. You don't want to have to make that decision, when you are pressed for time. And I think they made the right call. I think that, there wasn't obviously anything wrong with the car. And Antron, once he got in the deal, they were fighting some clutch gremlins as well as, the warm and humid conditions. But once they finally got in the deal, that was the information that Brian Karate needed to go ahead and race. Now, in the first round race, Brittany's car banged a blower off of it. They tested on Monday or on a Tuesday after the race. I was out at Indy, and there were a handful of cars that were out there making runs. And I talked to David, and I said, what happened? And he said, I'm not sure. He said, it dropped a cylinder, but it's done that before. He said, it was cruising down there, but it blew the blower off of it. And he said, we don't know 100% why. There is, we found some broken parts, but we don't know what the smoking gun is, right? You end up with the whole chicken or egg thing. But he believes that they still had the race won, even when the cylinder dropped, until the blower came off. And then he came out and he said, we weren't planning on testing, but once the track was open for testing, he said, I want to go back and recreate because the weather was almost exactly. He said, so we came out, we made our first run. The car went, I think he said 73. I wasn't there early enough to catch the first one. He came back and made the second run. And he said, we have exactly the setup that we had laid out yesterday to run second round, semifinals, final. And he said, we want to basically prove concept, right? Had the thing not blown the blower off of it, was the rest of everything in line? And it certainly looked like it was. But the bottom line is, the blower came off, But the fact that 26 years since a number 15 qualifier had won Top Fuel, I also thought that was just fascinating little tidbit.
Yeah, and AB says in a video that I'm going to play, never quit, because they struggled in work and worked all weekend and got the job done. But that Brittany-Antron matchup, we didn't do marquee matchups, but that would have certainly been the matchup, because either one of them could have gone on to win the race. And in this case, it was Antron Brown. Someone has a question, actually, about Steve Torrence. I think this is a good question for you to answer. They switched chassis on Sunday night. What if they had an incident during eliminations? You only get one switch, right? What if they had one and the chassis had broken again? That would have been it. It would have been a switch by run for their opponent?
Correct.
Okay. That's what Derek was asking.
You can switch one time during the course of the weekend. You can switch at any point during the course of the weekend. You cannot switch back, and you cannot switch twice. So if you look at, if they had a problem on Monday, their options would have been either fix it or don't make the run. Those are your only two choices. So, one time during the course of the weekend, and you cannot switch back.
That's okay, and that's important to know. Will Smith making his first race, all these amazing stories, these storylines, getting out there and being a part of the U.S. Nationals. But the Final Four, my drag race bracket bonanza bracket was looking pretty good in Top Fuel. Unfortunately, I got busted in Funny Car. I picked Chad Green to win the race, right? Getting crazy on it, and it did not work out. But Antron over Steve, 40 to a 42, 77 to an 87. Both of those racers are going to be battling it out in the championship. But as you mentioned, Justin Ashley leads the points by 30 over Steve, by 44 over Antron, by 58 over Leah. Brittany starts 68 points back. Then you got Doug Salinas, Austin, Clay, Josh Hart, and Sean Langdon and Tony Schumacher. They're in the mix. They get what everyone is calling the participation trophy. But I notice no one is rejecting the participation trophy. Nobody is saying, take me out of the running. We don't deserve it.
Well, the one thing that I do like about that, and one of the things that I didn't care about particularly when they did the top 10 reset, I don't believe either Tony or Sean is going to all of a sudden catch fire and go win the championship, right? If you haven't figured something out by now, I don't see how you flip a switch and do it the last 6 races. But the old way would have prohibited them from being in the top 10. And I think at this point, you have a legitimate chance, if you finish 8th or 9th or 7th or whatever, standing on the stage means something, even if you don't win the championship. Telling your sponsor next year, or when you go in to negotiate, we are a top 10 car, means something that if you finish 11th or 12th doesn't. And when you hard reset the top 10 and just block out everybody else, that eliminates their possibility of that top 10 finish. I'd like to say, I don't think that either one of those cars is going to win the championship anyway. And if you're going to use that for motivation, then thank me in your speech. But you've had 15 races to show me that you're a championship contender. And other than, there've been a couple of flashes of brilliance, certainly for the DHL folks, but the Skag car really still just hasn't quite found it. And do I think they will at some point? Yes. do I think they're automatically just going to go poof and make a run in the countdown? And they haven't shown me anything to make me believe that yet. But I do believe they've got a chance to finish in the top 10, and I'm glad that they at least have a chance to do that.
Well, we're all a little schizophrenic on this because it's two things at the same time. Like I said, nobody's rejecting it. And oh, by the way, Alan, if Sean Langdon or Tony Schumacher did somehow acquire enough points over these 6 races to be first at the end of the In-N-Out Burger Finals, that would be an amazing and incredible accomplishment. They would be champions, right? Like, would someone say that they weren't champions? Like, I don't know, but I think we got to either decide one or the other and stop diminishing it, right? Like, it is either this, and you can come from 13th, and if you did, it's incredible. Like, come on, that would be amazing to do that. They'd have to catch some lucky breaks. Everybody up front would have to cannibalize each other, and they would have to go deep into every race. That's championship worthy. No different than an 8-8 wild card team winning the Super Bowl because they got hot at the right time. Nobody tells that team they are not a Super Bowl champion. So maybe that's what we need to do. But let's stop calling it the participation trophy. Like, the racers themselves are, crapping on the program, for lack of a better term.
Well, I don't believe I've ever called it that. So I think I could see both sides of it, and I understand why it was put into place originally. When we were running the COVID shortened season, and especially when we weren't sure what the races were going to be. Sometimes literally 3 weeks out or 4 weeks out, we weren't really 100% sure. Are we actually going to go to St. Louis? Are we actually going to go to Texas? And so it made sense at that point to try to make sure that everybody that came out and supported the races had an opportunity. I get that. But at this point, I'm not sure, I'm not sure if it's outlived its usefulness or if you just go on. I do think that it diminishes a little bit when you say, when you talk in Seattle and somebody said, this person is locked into the countdown. When you know that, well, that person's locked in too. I mean, assuming he, continues coming to the races. So I think it diminishes a little bit of that. But, if I'm the guy that has the opportunity and I'm taking advantage of it, I'm taking advantage of it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And, just thinking out loud here in terms of the sport, this gentleman wants to know if we're going to have Matt Hartford on the show. And yes, Matt Hartford's going to be on tomorrow right after Antron Brown. So please subscribe, enable notifications, don't miss the show. Huge win for Hartford. Let's talk pro stock. Matt said it in the media center very, very well. His interviews are very reflective. And he said that Dallas Glenn has the points lead and Dallas Glenn dominated the season. But people said that he had the best car, and that's not true. That Dallas was the best driver. He goes, I had the best car, but I drove like crap. And hopefully now that's over and we can show that we have had the best car over the course of the year. And they certainly did a great job throughout the weekend in pro stock, taking that number one qualifier, which Michael Heiner told us on Hear It From Heiner, the Patreon show. That's what mattered. Getting number one on Friday night so that you could use the rest of the experience, because that was going to put you number one. And the way Michael Heiner explained on our Patreon show, it's exactly the way it worked out, except Hartford was the one who took advantage of the situation and delivered.
Well, you were locked into the field on Friday night, I think pretty much so. Were there some moves made later yes, but if you were in the top 5, 6, 8, you were locked into the field. So then you could go start working on your race day setup, and that's exactly what Matt did. But I thought it was interesting that throughout the course of the weekend, Eddie never said we made a good run. He said over and over and over again, we're not getting all of it. There's more out there. We know we did. But they were certainly continuing to learn, and the stuff they learned helped out, come Monday. The most important thing on Monday was to be in the top half of the field, and just because of the Christian Quadra incident in first round of Pro Stock, which, things happen, right? But that was just like a knife in the gut of anybody that didn't have lane choice. As the day went on, we saw that you could make good runs, you could win in the left lane, but for round number one. That was just that was really difficult to swallow.
Can I pause you here as a person with 40 years of drag racing experience and get your take? So, engines blow up, fuel lines blow, oil lines blow, things happen. Anything made by man is failable, all of that. So I would never want to do something extreme to when one of those things happen. But this, and I don't want to blame specific people, I just want to say the next time a rear end gear cover is left in a bad spot and it just falls off on the track, thus changing the outcome. I don't know about that because we just don't know, but definitely, like I talked to Tim Freeman, he says people's races changed because of that.
Yes,
like the
absolutely.
whole, should there be an egregious draconian penalty for that mistake that forces every team to triple, if that's even a word, check the rear end cover? Because
Hang on, Pete Biondo wants to say hi to everybody.
Terminator, what's up, Pete?
What's up, guys?
How are you?
Joe Castello.
Doing WFO Radio. Told everybody they're missing a great show out here in Columbus. So
Well, that's a great show, too.
Told everybody you cheated me out of the practice tree thing because
Told them all the details.
Yeah, I did.
know
I told him.
I won a tie because it's my box.
That's what he said.
What else?
Yeah.
I was 001 red. He could have sat on the starting line.
they're hearing you in my earbuds, so everything you're saying is going out.
All right.
No, we're having a great weekend here. Thanks, Pete. I'll be down in a bit.
Peter Biondo, let's see, you're skipping out, man. You're skipping out. He's coming to check up on you. It's Reinhart.
No. He knew I was doing this. And the second thing he said, we did have one of our hits where we were both red, and I beat him to the red light. I was 004, I think, and he was 001. But
That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
well,
but if that had been the time I missed the tree, then I win the whole thing. But
so somewhere
anyway.
out there's a video, real quick, since we're talking practice tree, and it just popped into my head, and I never got official credit for this. Someone recorded, you may recall in Kansas, we did the Elite versus KB Titan practice tree battle. Afterwards, Galvin challenges me to a battle. So we warmed up, and then we did the one run. I look into the camera, I say, Galvin's going red, and I made him go red. The only thing I didn't do that I should have is just held the button for like a 2-second reaction time because I was
That
so
would have been
confident
fun.
he would have been. But hey, maybe next time. Man,
That
you
would
got,
have been fun.
you got to play practice tree with the Terminator. That's pretty cool. All right, so
I did lose.
you did lose. But what about that, man? Like, make it so serious that no one will ever make that mistake again. That's just a mistake. It's just a mistake. So we got to triple check it because they'll fine us $10,000 or they'll suspend us for a race or take 100 points. Don't ever do that again. It's too big of a mistake. It affects too many people, TV, time. It cannot be made, that mistake, leaving a cap off of something.
Who is going to decide when that penalty?
When the cap is on the starting line, like it was. Like, there it is, the cap. It's on the starting line. Fall right there. I saw it with my own eyes.
Okay. What about when a nitro guy comes over to spin the thing over to check oil pressure, and the return line going to the tank is off? Is that the same thing?
Just the cap on a
No, but I'm
rear
saying,
end.
so you just for that one thing.
Yes.
Nothing else has that penalty, just that one thing.
Just that specific rule. Yes. I've
Okay,
seen
so
it 3 times since I've been here. 3 times. It
if
happened
I-
in Brainerd 2 years ago. It's
Right.
just a mistake that gets made. Solve
So-
it with the rule.
If I leave the cap off the dry sump tank accidentally, that doesn't count? That's okay?
There's a cap on the starting line, then it can
Well,
be
that's where the
covered by
dry
the-
sump. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think, in the first place, it cost Christian his chance to win Indy, and he had a good car. And we've talked about all year long the Quadra brothers, and their driving can make the difference sometimes, and so it cost him a chance. Do you think $10,000 is going to hurt more than that? He really hurt the chances of a lot of his teammates.
Oh.
Do you think $10,000 is going to hurt more than that? Dude, I mean, and being embarrassed in front of your peers, you think $10,000 is going to hurt more than that? I mean, mistakes get made from time to time, yes. I don't believe it's worth the death penalty when something like that happens.
Yeah, the death penalty, right? Like, it's just so frustrating because that they didn't have the imagination to assume that would happen prior to. And I love the Quadras, they're friends. Like, I don't mean it as any one person. I mean it as carelessness happens unless there's a consequence. And no one can imagine that they'll ever do that until they do. By the way, Heiner agrees with you. He said the same thing last night. I'm a law and order kind of person, man. We have laws and rules for reasons. Without them, people will push the edge. With them, they will be conscientious.
But this isn't pushing the edge. This is somebody that made a mistake, that overlooked something. I would be willing to bet you, whatever you want to find the people that do that there has already been a get-together at Elite, and the next time, and every single time going forward, when there is a ring and pinion gear change, there are 3 people that are going to check that cap. The guy that does it is going to check it. The guy that puts the fluid in it is going to check it. The guy that puts the wheels on is going to check it. And then the guy who finally puts the drive shaft in, once they've got the transmission, is going to check it. 4 guys are going to have to sign off that this thing is tight. And I guarantee you, they've already sat down and said, all right, guys, going forward, here's what's going to happen. Because can one guy make a mistake? Yes, right? You're in a hurry, you're doing this, somebody goes, give me a hand with this, and just it goes away. I get it. But if you say you're responsible and you're responsible and you're responsible, it's not going to happen again. Anytime we had some silly thing happen when I was working for David, and it happened, sometimes testing, usually not that blatant in the first round of the U.S. Nationals, but we literally would get together and go, okay, guys, the next time you change carburetors, Bo, you better make damn sure before you get in and start the car that this is right. And when you fill up the gas tank, Mark, you better make goddamn sure that he's got the carburetors tight. And so that one thing wouldn't happen again. And I don't think, no matter how long you're out, I don't think you'll see that happen again. Certainly not in an elite car, because the guys have gotten together and said, here's our new policy going forward. This is how we're going to guarantee that never happens. And that policy is now in place, I promise you.
We'll see. And I hope you're right. And I am going with, I got people on here attacking me. Relax, Joe. Stop, Joe. Think about it. I don't know, man. I think I can make a competitive case. But if it never happens again.
It'll never happen again to an elite car.
Well, it should never happen again, ever. It should never happen. It ruins too much. There's too much damage done. Too much damage by a human mistake that could easily be prevented. But you're right, like, the embarrassment is huge. And within the team, like Bo, all of those guys, right, Christian, they lost their own race.
Yeah.
They changed the whole outcome by a simple mistake. And I just,
do you think a $10,000 fine would have a bigger effect than what they already did?
Well, it's about deterring it in the future. So yes, I actually do. I think that the next team that comes into the sport that doesn't have this personal experience, so basically everybody that comes in that tries to do it and is learning along the way is going to have to leave this cap open so that they can get the experience and the embarrassment. I think that, rules as a deterrent work. But I see I'm in the minority on this. Timmy Freeman, he goes, just leave the cap on the ground, man. Then when you back the car out, you put it up on the housing. That's when you make the mistake. You put it on the ground, you never make the mistake because you learn. You have a system. You can see, hey, there's the cap. All I know is I should hope to never see another rear end housing cap on the starting line ever in my life. Poor Erica is like this. Why's Eric? What's wrong with Erica? I go running up and there's the cap. And we're going to be down for 45 minutes and the whole U.S. Nationals just changed for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
That should never happen again. But anyway, that's this, like this guy says, the lone or sole blemish of the whole deal, right? Like if you got, and the fire and alcohol funny car, that was terrible too. But generally a great thing. I'm just spending a little time on the rule. Let's go back to Hartford now. They stormed through the field. They started running out of the right lane, even though the left lane had always been preferred. Got through Mason, got through Camry, got through Erica, got through Fernando Quadra, and Matt Hartford is now a multi-time winner on the tour in a year, and he's got the biggest race under his belt, second in the point standings, and certainly one of the favorites to win the championship.
I think so, yeah, and I think you know him very well, and you were paying attention with stuff to go. When he beat Erica, that was probably his single biggest round because of what she has done in the sport, what she has accomplished, and those two have got a little personal rivalry. It gets a little chippy from time to time. Nobody's going to throw anything at the other one, but those two, the old story, right? You want to be the best, you beat the best. She's a 5-time champion. She's got the number 1 on her window. I want to beat her. And he did. And so that was big. Going on to win the race obviously was huge, but that Erica round I think was the biggest single round that he raced all weekend.
Yes, definitely. And Leon says, I'm against cam sensors going bad and stopping the race, ban them. Cute, Leon, but totally not different. Cam sensor going bad is not a carelessness thing. That is a randomness of racing parts kind of thing. I'll respond to you when Reinhardt's not here. But they're very different. That's a terrible analogy, Leon, but that's okay. Erica got asked a question on the top end by Amanda. Social media blew up. I've yet to see it, but I trust Michael Heiner's characterization that it was no big deal at all. That girl's not allowed to be disappointed that she lost the U.S. Nationals. I'd say give her a break.
Well, but it wasn't. I don't believe it was a round that she lost. I think that I thought it was an earlier round. But
okay.
But
Even
anyway,
so.
no. I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, Amanda said something to the effect of, that's not going to get it done all day, something along those lines. And yeah, Erica, said went off on her a little bit. I also think it's no big deal. I think that competitive people are competitive people. I don't think that Amanda's feelings were hurt. I don't know if Amanda and Erica have communicated since then, but it wouldn't surprise me if they have. I think I like the fact that Amanda is not afraid to go down that road, right? It's like, look, your job is to do this, and in this particular case, you didn't deliver an all-star performance. I think, I'm okay with that question being asked, and if the competitor or the athlete, in this case Erica, wants to fire back, I'm okay with that too. I think it's funny that everything you hear, your drivers are so bland, your drivers are so boring, they're corporate robots, they never show any emotion, they never do anything. And when you could physically see that Erica, or you could actually see Erica was pissed and she let it out. Would you rather have a corporate robot? I mean, you can't, what do you want? And I'm fine with both of them. I think it's great that Amanda asked the question. I have a ton of respect for her and how far she's come in such a short period of time. And obviously, we're not the only ones that think so, because look at all the other stuff that she's doing now, right? People in other sports are looking and going, we want that person and that personality to be part of our broadcast. God bless her. But if that annoys some of the stuff, Brian Lonta said the same thing 100 times. He said, my job is to tell the story. And if by telling the story and telling the truth, that annoys somebody, that's still my job, right? I mean, if I say, well, here comes Joe Castello. Joe Castello hasn't been out of the first round in the last 10 races. And you go, dude, what the hell? Have you been out of the first round in the last 10 races? Well, not tell anybody.
I'm the guy who got lambasted a year ago. My job was threatened. My profession was nearly taken away from me for daring to suggest that all right, that might be a slight exaggeration.
Yeah, that might be blowing
Let's move forward. But listen, I have experienced it too, okay? You get one shot at a question, and if someone takes it a little wrong, that's fine. But it definitely wasn't what I feel like the internet has made it out to be. Final thoughts on Pro Stock. Looking at the point standings, Dallas leads Hartford by 25. Erica up to third. That's a charge forward by 32. Troy 41. Derek Kramer, he's back there in 52 points out of the lead. Aaron Stanfield, Greg Anderson, Kyle Koretsky, Cameron Caruso, Christian Quadra, Bo, Fernando, Jerry Tucker, Mason and Chris McGahey, all, and I think Fernando Quadra too. No, not Fernando Quadra, Chris McGahey, all 15 cars in the running for the championship. But in the end, though, this weekend was all about Matt Hartford and the Total Seal team. They broke through for a career-defining victory, and he'll be on WFO tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to look forward to hearing that. I won't be able to hear it live because we're going to be racing all day, but at some point I'll go back and drag it up in the archives, maybe when I'm flying home. But I think Matt right now he's got a fast car. He's got a lot of confidence. I think if he can go in there, and I'm not saying he has to win, but I think if he goes in there and has a good, solid week at Reading, then that is going to make him even more dangerous going into the countdown. If he goes to Reading and stubs his toe, that, I'm not saying it's over, but I'm saying right now, he's got some confidence, he's got some momentum. If he goes to Reading and has a good week, then I think that's really, really going to get his confidence going, and I think the whole team will be even more of a threat to win the championship than I think they already are.
It's very interesting, and I'm going to talk to him tomorrow about it. I was kind of given a statement, and I'll tell everybody about it, but he's a different person than he was 2 years ago, right? They're racing a different way. When you are the fast guy, you race different than you used to race when you were the 500th behind guy. And I think he's gaining that confidence. He's like learning, he's realizing, like, wait a second. I don't need to get into a burn down. I don't need to get in a staging duel. I need to, stage it up. If I go 20, there's chances of beating me is low.
Exactly. You have a different mentality when you're there, and that's why I always think it's interesting when the people that have the best car get sucked into those things, right? If I've got you covered by 300s, or if I got you covered by 400s, and you want to have a staging duel, you're gonna have it by yourself. There's no upside whatsoever for me to play that game, but people keep getting sucked into that over and over and over again. And it's another discussion I've had with so many people over the years, and Pro Stock is the perfect place for it, because everybody used to say that, just to pick names out of a hat, right? Dave Conley is a great driver, and Warren Johnson is not a great driver, because Dave Conley has 10 hole shot wins and Warren Johnson has 10 hole shot losses. I said, okay. Well, you just told me that Dave Conley has a slow car. That's what you told me.
Right.
Because if Dave Conley had a fast car, he wouldn't have all those. If you switch Dave Conley and Warren Johnson, Dave Conley now has no hole shot losses because, well, one, he always leaves first, or usually, and two, he's got the fastest car. Now, is he not as good a driver because he doesn't have any hole shot wins?
Right.
He's got no hole shot win. Well, he must not be a very good driver. And now Warren, in a slow car, doesn't have the hole shot losses. So does that make him a better driver? And if that's the only metric, then I think you're missing a bet. And I have always looked at number one qualifying times versus race wins, because there are a lot of people that if you give them the fastest car, they will go out and win a fair share of races. But I have always thought the people that win when they don't have the faster car, in my mind, that's the better driver, right? Look at how many Pro Stock wins Jag Coughlin has, and how many number one qualifiers Jag Coughlin has. And then tell me, and using Greg and Erica just as modern examples, okay? And I'm not slamming anybody, I'm not bad-mouthing anybody, but if you're hiring a driver, only a driver, Joe, you have a Pro Stock team, you have an engine shop, you have all of that stuff, you have your sponsor, you have somebody, all you need is somebody to drive the car. No other responsibility, drive the car. Who do you hire? Erica or Greg? They're the only two that have applied.
Erica.
I do too.
Sorry.
Now, if I'm starting a program and I need somebody to help on the engine side, and I need somebody to help on the chassis side, and I need somebody, then Greg absolutely positively is the person I hire. I also believe that if Greg didn't have to do all of the engine stuff and all of the business stuff and all of this stuff and could focus more, I think that's one of the things that's always made Jag Coughlin a great driver. He didn't have to worry about anything else. Get in the car, drive the car. I think if you have one singular area of focus, you're going to be better at it than somebody that's trying to do 10 different things. And Erica certainly does more than drive the car. You've been by there a number of times, right? When she's got wrenches in her hand and she's pulling valve cover. And I'm not saying that she just goes and sits in the lounge, but I'm saying she can focus more of her energy simply on, I need to do this when I'm driving the car, where Greg has all this other stuff going on that keeps him from being singularly focused on that one mission. I think, obviously both are Hall of Famers, both are superstars in the sport, but pure driver, I think Erica gets the nod, and I think the biggest part of that is because her focus is much more on driving, where Greg's focus is split between all of the stuff that he does and has to do and has done over the years to be able to win 100 races. He obviously ain't doing it bad. It's just different.
Got it. No, well, situational, right? You run your situation not someone else's. And Hartford's situation, the reason we started this is changing from one to the next. And he's been in a long transition since they've had the Cape Titan power and learning how to win. But now they find themselves in a championship battle. He'll be on the show tomorrow, right after Antron Brown, 12 noon Antron Brown. Hartford going to come on around 12:30, so be ready for that one. All right, real quick, I want to let you go. But Matt Smith, if, Gage Herrera versus the field, like if that was the bet at the start of the race, I think a lot of people it was Gage Herrera left and right. But Matt Smith showing, and he said in the winner's circle, and I'm sure he told you as well, he considers himself a active runner in this championship, and it's not going to be a walkover if you believe what Matt Smith is saying, which I do.
Well, Matt Smith needs to figure out how to go 60 feet. That's what Matt needs. And he said that point blank more than once. When the mile an hour is very close, when the back half numbers are very close, and when Gage Herrera is 103 and 104 and Matt Smith is 111 and 112, you can't win like that. You can't. He's going to figure it out. But it's something between tire, gear, clutch that the Vance and Hines guys have got figured out and that Matt doesn't. And I don't believe that Matt can call Eddie and go, hey, just curious, would you share with me, what your low gear and what your starting line RPM is? Because ain't getting it. But Matt, that's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to concentrate on. Terry Vance was up in the tower with me for a number of the Pro Stock motorcycle sessions, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, look at the numbers. They tell the story. Going down the back, Matt's as fast as anybody. Speed, Matt's as fast as anybody. But if you give up 500-600s in the first 60 feet, you ain't getting that back. And so once Matt gets that figured out, his Suzuki is going to be as bad as any Suzuki out there. The question in my mind is, when is he going to figure it out? And Gage was a broken porcelain on a spark plug that slowed the thing down. He reached out to me after it was over with and said, look, here's the story. He said, not making excuses, but here's the story. And okay, he had the bike to beat. He had a mechanical malfunction that took him out. Matt took advantage of it, and he's happy to do so. But if Matt can figure out how to get that bike to go 60 feet, then I believe he becomes a legitimate championship contender overnight, or within 700ths of a second, as soon as he can get it to go that much quicker.
We will see. Point standings in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Gage by 29 over Matt Smith, by 37 over Hector. I just feel Hector Rana, man. Red light start, final round. Their bike was fast. They were running those 200s. And I just know that that's one he's going to wake up in the middle of the night for a long time.
Yeah, but you also know, the I don't want to say animosity, but, Matt and the Hectors, the Hectors for a long time have kind of felt like us against the world, right? For a while it was the Harleys and the Hectors. And I really think that they kind of feel like I said, us against the world. So you go up there, you're driven, it's like, I'm going to win this, I'm going to win this, I'm going to win this, and you just push too hard. But they've still got a fast motorcycle. They're still going to make some noise in the countdown to the championship. So just look forward to when we get to see them back on track.
Simple as that. And Chris Thorne wins Pro Mod, coming back off a red light start in the final round last year. On a mission, gets it done, and looking good in that road to the championship.
Yeah, Justin Bond looks solid as well. I still can't get used to Justin Bond having a screw supercharger on that thing. I keep looking out the window and seeing the flat hood and going, that's just, no, wait, that's not Justin, that's Chris. But, yeah, that one, I'm not sure how many other players are in the field right now. Really, those guys look like they're the front runners. Certainly there's a couple other cars out there that are running well. But, they've only got a couple of races left, and there's, 3, I think, right? Don't they do St. Louis, Charlotte, St. Louis, and Dallas? Is that right?
That's what I believe.
I believe that's true. So yeah, that's I think it's really getting down to crunch time now. There's only going to be a couple of 3 players out there, so you can't let anything get away from you at this point. I
want to let you get back. Any other categories, classes, anything that sticks out in your mind you want to mention?
A couple of things. I thought Madison Payne being a 3rd generation Indy winner was awesome. Her grandfathers won it, her fathers won it. Her mom never did, but her grandfather won it, her father won it, and her winning it, I thought that was cool. I think it's almost like funny that after she was the one that denied Tony Stewart his first by 2 10,000ths of a second, I don't believe she had a bigger fan in the pits than Tony Stewart in the final round, because Tony is locked in a battle with Julie and with the OTG guys, or the OTG team for the championship. So he needed Madison to win that race. I thought Donnie Beeler winning, stock eliminator, a 67 4-speed Camaro, and his first win was 1990 here at Columbus in the same 67 4-speed Camaro. I thought that was a great story. Bo Butner going back-to-back in Super Gas. I thought that was a great story. Greg Stanfield winning. I think, we could spend another 2 hours talking about just what happened in the Sportsman, but great race from top to bottom. We had 6 days of good weather. It was a little hot, it was a little muggy, but we didn't have anything that slowed us down on the racetrack. And, congratulations to all the champions. It was just a really good overall week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Alan, we'll let you go back to work. Tell Pete we said hi. Say hi to Samantha as well and everybody over there that knows us. Have fun at the Big Money Bracket Race. The Fling, baby. What is it? It's the Jegs Summer Fling at Columbus. And everybody wants to know about that facility. And maybe they didn't hear at the very beginning, but you say it's on the ascent, that they've made a lot of nice changes and updates.
Well, this place held national events before. When we began a relationship with Norwalk, they're so close together, they literally took the event from here and moved it to the Norwalk facility. But this place, I believe, could hold a national event again. There's a lot of discussion going on right now. Could you make it viable financially? With Norwalk still being on the schedule, are they too close together? Could you move them far enough on the calendar? Blah 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 blah. But I think it's worthy of the discussion. The facility itself, the racetrack is fine.
Yeah, beautiful.
The suites are very nice.
Look at that tower, tremendous.
There's a lot of the structure that, right, if Joe and Alan build a racetrack and we go, oh, we want a national event, pick us, they're going to come in, they being, the survey committee, are going to come in and go, okay, you're going to need more grandstands. No, we got that. Maybe your racing surface needs an update. Maybe, no, we got that. You're going to need concrete wall. No, we got that. You're going to need some paved pit area. They may need to expand some of that here. You're going to need a place for VIPs. We've got that. There are a number of the things that are basically required these days to have a national event are already here. So, I don't know. Jay Livingston and JJ, who run the place, they certainly have got plenty of experience running and working national events and working. They understand what it takes from a staffing side as far as what the racetrack would need to have in place. And I think at this point, all discussion is ongoing, right? There's been so many tracks that we're not going back to, tracks that have disappeared, and not as many being built. Wonderful what the Flying H guys are doing down in Kansas City, but that's one, and we've lost 4 or 5. So they are looking at possibilities. And if Joe and Alan decided to go out and build a racetrack tomorrow, someplace close to any metropolitan area, we would certainly, I would think, reach out and say, what would it take for us to host, and could this be made viable? It was at this racetrack for a lot of years. I think it could be again. It's just a matter of whether they can make everything work out. And as I said, there's a lot of talking going on, right? Every time I hear they're talking to the folks in Edmonton. Of course they are. I hear they're talking. Of course they are. Of course they are. They're talking to everybody.
Yep.
But who has the infrastructure, who has the requirements that it takes to put on a national event, and who is willing to do what needs to be done to make it happen? There's a lot of discussion. Somebody comes in and goes, hey, we want a national event. And somebody from NHRA will come over, look at the facility and go, well, geez, you're going to need, at least another 15,000 grandstands, and you're going to need more paved pit area. There's a requirement for this much paved pit area to have a national event. It has to happen. And then you go, well, gee, I don't know. That's not really in my budget. Not really. Well,
one track that has all that is Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, which is back on the schedule, baby. Yep. 2024. All that heartfelt, emotional stuff that you said. I think it clearly worked. They are back, and that's one that we saved, and I'm very happy to be able to go back there. The schedule is up, and people are asking about certain racetracks. TBD was the name of a couple of events out there, so I'm excited to see what those are in the future. And well, at least we got one back.
Nope. Nobody watches your show, right? I can tell you something, and nobody watches.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when Joe and Alan's track gets completed,
yeah,
that's going to be one of the TBDs.
We're getting one, baby.
All we need to finish this whole deal up It's land and money. That's all we need. As soon as we get that, Joe and Alan's world-class race facility is going to be one of those TBDs. We've got everything we need to make this happen, except the land and the money. And if you would like to contribute one of those, give us a call.
Yeah. Deliver a suitcase of cash. Simple as that. Alan, great job. Have a great day. Have fun out there. Say hi to everybody.
Thanks, Joe. I'm glad we were able to make it work. I'm sorry the last couple of weeks have been a little hit and miss. My schedule and travel and stuff has been a little silly, but I'm glad we were able to make it work. It was a great Indy, and looking forward to having some fun today. Somebody's going to win $100,000 here today. We're going to have big bucks for the rest of the weekend as well, and then I will see you in Reading.
See you in Reading next week. Countdown, baby. All right, thanks, Alan. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. You want to subscribe. All right, guys, I've got a video I want to play of the Winner's Circle, which I just think is awesome. I watched it again today, and I just love it. And then we're going to come back and get your comments, and I'm going to fight back a little bit, but I understand. I see when I'm outnumbered. I don't have to be right. I want to get it right. And maybe the way I'm seeing it is not the right way, but I will promise you this. If I ever see the cover of a rear end housing on the starting line again and oil everywhere, then I'm going to revisit this moment. Like, you're right. Fine. We don't have to do it. Stuff happens. Fine. But if stuff continuously happens over and over again, then I'm sorry. That's where rules come from. And if you leave a cap off of something, maybe there should be an extreme punishment. Should we chop off their pinky finger on the starting line? That might be extreme. But forget about that. Check out this video that I took in the Winner's Circle, and then we're going to come back with your comments, your thoughts, and talk about some of the other class winners from the...
Come on down here, John. You got to join us on stage. You have to. Or I'll shoot the tires out of your airplane.
Never quit, baby. Never quit in life. Never quit.
Yeah, maybe they can get it to 60 foot. I'm not sure can. There you go. Maybe we'll give that a shot. Well, your pro stock motorcycle champion has done it here before. He didn't qualify great, but he didn't qualify bad. Come over here. Let's take on John Hall and Ryan one, send him home. Give him another chance to work on it. Chase Van Sant for round two. Nah, he couldn't stop either.
What do you think?
Of everyone I've won, I've never taken an original for myself. This will be the first original I keep for myself.
You just won Indy, brother. You just won freaking Indy.
Number one qualifier, turned it into a blue hat. We talked about that this morning.
Good job.
Here at the U.S. Nationals, his name is...
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Back. How about the mid-roll spots now? Yeah, WFO is growing. It's out of control. We're like gangbusters. We're running wild. Put your comments in the comment section, guys. I really want to hear what you got to say, but here's the schedule. We're going WFO for the rest of the week, Thursday and Friday. For those of you that are watching the show in the future or listening on the audio-only podcast that's available on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or SoundCloud, right? Which is how most of our audience listens to the show because they're hardworking people that can't be like focused on a screen. Fortunately, we do have that live element with all you guys chiming in with your comments, and I definitely love it. But most of our audience listen after the fact. And Thursday, 12 noon, Antron Brown with Matt Hartford right afterwards. Friday, Ron Capps, and I would like to get Matt Smith in there, but if it doesn't work out, we'll just try to get him next week as we get ready for the House of Chaos up there in Reading. It's going to be awesome. We're headed that way. Hopefully you're going to come to that race. And if nothing else, we all experienced one of the greatest single drag races that has ever happened. And I know you can say that about Indy every year. And there's always a lot of talk about what we can do to make drag races better. In this case, not a lot. We had perfect weather. We had perfect everything. The competition was through the roof. And all the bonus races, all the special stuff, the Pep Boys All-Star Call-Out. I spent a lot of time in the Top Eliminator Club. It was awesome to hang out with those racers and those race fans. Shirley was there. Snake was there. Sigrini was there. Daryl Gwynn was there, just talking to their fans. Like, there was not a lot of negative. Not a lot of negative on this deal. Chris Thorne wins Fuel Tech Pro Mod. Madison Payne wins Top Alcohol Dragster. Sean Bellemere wins Top Alcohol Funny Car over Doug Gordon. Like that, I'd pay to watch 4 out of 7. I would pay to watch those two just battle over and over again. What an amazing final. Chase Williams wins Comp Eliminator. How about that Roof Tech Cash Clash in Comp Eliminator? We had 64 Comp Eliminator cars. Wow, amazing. Wyatt Wagner wins his second race out there in Superstock. Donnie Beeler gets the job done. Donnie, a classic guy in a classic car. Devin Eisenhower wins in Super Comp. Bo Butner wins in Super Gas. And to me, that was pretty special because he was wearing a WFO radio shirt, the kind that you can only get at the track. And he called it his good luck charm for the day. We got a new program where everybody always asks me for stickers. Like, Joe, you got stickers on you? And the answer is no, I don't have stickers on me. They are at Hot Rod Randy's waiting for you to just go ask. And when you're there, you can get the shirt that Bo Butner thinks is good luck.
Hey guys, come on by to Hot Rod Randy's. Get your WFO gear. Come on by.
And they have been. What a great program. So when you go into Maple Grove, House of Chaos, swing by Hot Rod Randy's and pick that up. But Bo Butner goes back-to-back. There was a lot of back-to-back at the big go this year. Chris Osborne wins Top Sportsman. Jeff Strickland wins Top Dragster. Jesse Alexandra, Factory Showdown, missed the interview. I think I know why. Because he's mysterious, man. He's a mysterious man, right? Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Aaron Stanfield won that deal, won the whole season on a run that was the whole season. A Factory Showdown. Don Thomas won the Roof Tech Cash Clash. Gage Herrera won Too Fast, Too Tasty. Factory X was won by Greg Stanfield with Ben Strader of EFI University, who is a big part of all of the Total Seal stuff that we do, and the Engine Performance Expo. I got to hang out with Ben out there. He was so fired up. We did a video of Chris Holbrook's Factory X car. It's going like gangbusters on the interwebs. Go watch it. Wayne Jessel put up extra money for the 200 mile per hour club. Everybody pretty much agrees they're going to be 200 mile per hour cars. Steve Camella won the Hemi Challenge. Robert Height won the All-Star Call-Out. And Justin Ashley and John Force won the Nitro Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenges. And now that program is over for the year. I'd say it was one of the greatest single additions to the marketing racing strategy ever in the history of drag racing with Saturday racing. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. So put your comments in the comment section. And I noticed I loaded like a bunch of photographs, and all the photos I loaded are like me and Snake. Everybody. This one by Mark Rabilis, right? Rabilis. You can see I'm like not sucking it in right there. This one definitely sucking it in. It's just the way it is. But the whole Snake situation being out there was amazing. We got Antron Brown tomorrow on the show. AB. Going to talk a little bit about the win. And then Friday, 12 noon, Ron Capps. It's going to be awesome. All right, let's see what everybody's got out here. Lenny Lodig. What's up, Lenny? Lenny's got a Factory X car getting ready to roll out. Lenny, man, what a great field. FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown. Batman won Factory Super Stock. But he was not there for the big Winner Circle interview. How mysterious. Maybe it was off solving a crime or stopping criminals from doing stuff. What's up, Lenny? Lenny made a big prediction. I'm going to keep that to myself, Lenny, until it happens, though. I don't want to put you on the spot. I would love to see Bellemere and Gordon do a match race best of 3. Place your bets, even in Vegas. Yeah, best of 7, right? What is it? 6 out of 11. Whatever you got to do. But those two teams and those two cars are incredible. But Sean Bellemere battles back. Jeff says, thanks, guys. Dylan says, hey, Joe, when and why did you start saying it is time to burn some nitro? Personally, I think it stinks and you're a jerk. No, wait, I'm sorry, I misread that. Personally, I think it's really cool, and I wish they would show it on the TV broadcast. Hi, Dylan. Thank you very much. When I got the job of doing the pre-race show, and I kind of finally figured out, wait a second, I can do whatever I want. I decided to do something that would instigate fans to feel intensity of the moment. And I would love when the cars fire up right afterwards, but it doesn't always work out. It's kind of a bridge. It's kind of lame to just walk off the stage. And so I say, it's time to burn some nitro. I say, it is time to burn some nitro. But thank you for liking it. Yeah, I definitely think it's Fox Television worthy. I think it would get everybody very excited. And in drag racing, we don't have the gentleman start your engines moment. We don't. As someone who has spent a lot of time on the NASCAR world, worked at NASCAR radio. I did a lot of work with Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm a big NASCAR fan. I've studied their broadcast. That moment, gentlemen, start your engines, or drivers start your engines, is a cornerstone of every broadcast. They do it on every broadcast. And drag racing just doesn't have it. We don't have it. And so I sought to fill that moment with, it is time to burn some nitro. And I appreciate you appreciating it. A little something that I tried to, I'm trying to affect the sport with me. Joe will blast you on YouTube if you do it. I don't know what that is. Great show, Joe. Great show. Everybody's loving the show. What is this? Time to start playing the lottery. Yeah, us with the money. Man, I'd love to win the lottery. I know exactly what I would do. Ben Blomberg has got an awesome Top Sportsman car. I thought it was pretty cool. At one point, I saw Adam, Johnny, Tommy, and Julie at the starting line area. Sweden, Finland, and Norway. Oh, way to go, Ben. That's a great attitude. So Julie Natas beats Tony Stewart on track head-to-head in what was an awesome race. I was in the media center doing some media center duties at the time, but I was not focused on my media center responsibility for that 10 seconds. And I was watching Julie and Tony, and Julie won the race, but that's a great championship battle. Yeah, we are an international sport, and some of the best are all from outside the United States. They've come in and done great things. We need to pay more attention. I think Julie Natas is kind of not getting as much attention as she would like. We're going to seek to remedy that here on WFO. Pete, come on, spill it. When will the Western Swing start? Listen, the TBD, guys. TBD. Just be happy knowing. Pulled over to make a few comments. I'll be listening again tomorrow. Thanks, Steve. Good job pulling over, Steve. That's very important. Blake, who wanted to know where Alan Reinhart was. He was at a drag strip. He was at Columbus National Trail. But Amanda Busick, Bruno Massel, Jamie Howe, and Joe Castello are my favorite NHRA on Fox Top End reporters. That is also all of them. Thank you. Stephen Frisk, thank you, Blake. Thanks, Joe, for giving me a hard time on the track walk. Total respect, brother. What was that moment, Stephen? I don't remember it. You got to understand. People don't get it. And I don't want to diminish myself by saying that when I'm in that mode, some of my other senses turn off. But when I am on the track walk, we're putting on a show. You're not just walking on a track. We're the focus of NHRA TV, and everybody on there is expecting some fun. I got to go talk to the fans, and I'm trying to figure out who my next victim is. Who's the next victim? Maybe Steven was the victim. You should have said, me, Steven from the internet. Remember me? I make posts on the WF, and I would have treated you differently. But I can't possibly, people think that every person that you interact with, you remember them. It's just not possible, guys. It's not possible to remember every single person I know. Steven, did Joe WFO? I'm on the show. I would have, which one are you? But yeah, maybe it's me, man. Maybe I'm just not that good, but I just don't remember every single person that I interact with. It's tough stuff, but I'm working hard. I know you're probably thinking, well, you need to work on that, Joe. And the answer is I actually am. Great point. Alan Madison's win was a special moment. It absolutely was. She was super excited. Excellent show today for the entertainment and drive home, says Steven. Thank you very much. I'm working from down to up. Matt keeps talking about the special tire, talking about Matt Smith. We'll talk to him when we talk to him. Pro Stock Motorcycle, going to be very interesting, but really, gauge her right now. Put it in the chat section. I'm asking a question. Gage Herrera or the field for the championship? Field or Gage? That's it. Did everybody play Drag Race Bracket Bonanza? I did. I thought it was great. It was easy. They're going to tune up some things, but Elon did a great job. Elon said real positive things about his experience on WFO last week. But if you're a listener and you did not get in on Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, you really should. And in about 10 seconds, I'll flash the QR code, because just because Elon was on last week doesn't mean we shouldn't promote it. We've all tested it now. It was fun. It was funny. Watching me trying to do it 3 times, and I kept messing up, but then I ended up doing it and had a lot of fun. I had Hartford. That was the only one. But you can scan this and get in on Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. And I also move, since I'm so willing to drop the hammer on people who make mistakes, I also move that we change part of our core lexicon. Like, I think that maybe it's time, in drag racing, we call them a ladder. It's a ladder. But in college basketball, it's a bracket, right? And our ladder charts, get the ladders. Where do you get the ladders, right? Drag racing people know that, what we're talking about. But the rest of the world would look at that and call it a bracket. And maybe it would be good for us to just all agree to call them brackets. Just a thought to bring on the rest of the world. And they can play cool games like Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. And if you scan it, they got it real easy. It worked out real well. Hey, I want to shout out to a couple more of our sponsors before we get to the rest of the comments. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, Marvin Rodak, and samtech.edu. For coffee, best in the world from around the world, Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, where you can drive a dragster and feel the experiences all these fans and racers are looking for. And then, of course, Samtech, the future of our sport and our country, qualified machinist. You can go to the school. You can learn EFI tuning, block and head and CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Samtech.edu. And everybody else that supports WFO, like our Patreons. Tim says, I totally spaced on the bracket bonanza. Dang it. You signed up and then you failed to fill it out? That's why I'm bringing it up, Tim. I'm bringing it up. Everybody got jacked up to play the game on Tuesday and then forgot about the game. I'm involved in our NASCAR Fantasy League back there. There are a lot of times that I forget to set my team. But if you go to their social media, they're going to blast you with reminders. And I did mine right before first round. Like, I was able to get it in there. Okay. My money is on the Fontana Flash, Gage Herrera. So Gage. Yeah. Nobody's taking field. Tough stuff. $2 spark plug ruined Gage's day. I don't think it's a $2 spark plug. Just saying. Those plugs are probably more expensive than $2. But your point is taken. Other members of Matty Payne family to win: Grandpa Brad, Dad Jay, Uncle Randy. Way to go, Nicole. Alcohol class fun facts. Nicole Clark is spending some fun facts. Sean won back-to-back U.S. Nats. Maddie is not the only one in her family to win the U.S. Nats. Yeah, but we knew that. Like, that's not breaking news. And there you go. Everybody is in on. Nobody took the field. Simple as that. All right, guys. Great Indy. Thank you all for signing on. Remember, if you really love WFO, you can become a Patreon and get all the behind-the-scenes VIP backstage stuff. To the Ignition Show, you can check out the Hear It From Heiner show. Michael Heiner's going to break down. He doesn't agree with me either, because nobody wants to be responsible for that moment. Yeah, Eric Olson's. He's like, I'll take the field. That's what you do. When everybody's doing one thing, you got to do the other thing. Maybe I'm a little more draconian about the penalties. But if there's a cap that covers a container on the starting line, that means it was left off, because caps don't just like work their way off and fall off. That doesn't happen. If it never happens again, fine. And the quadras, I love them. It's just a mistake that was made. But like somebody said in the feed, I'm trying not to punish the mistake that was made. That's already done. It's not what this is about. It's about deterring future mistakes. And we just have a difference of opinion. Some people believe that this event will deter people from accidentally making that mistake in the future. And it will for everybody who experienced it this time. But for people who didn't feel the 45 minutes of downtime and the pain of seeing people's U.S. nationals and really a year of work for them just kind of be altered, not necessarily ruined, but altered. Maybe it'll never happen again. That's what I'm hoping. Thank goodness this will never happen again. And we can just move forward. But if it does, well, then that kind of blows out the theory. Look at me going along, just putting my own opinion to the side, going along with the group. You guys are right. It'll never happen again. Thank goodness. All right, guys. Have a great week. See you tomorrow, 12 noon, WFO.